Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Monday Night Football Preview is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. I'm taking the upset tonight. That's right. I think they're going to ride Saquon Barkley, and I have a lot of respect for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. They were, when I was a kid, the correct out-of-market team to root for was the Steelers. The fake fans rooted for the Cowboys, the front runners, but the real football fans rooted for the Steelers. I'm talking about the 70s now, going back to the mid-late 70s. And since the Giants stunk, between Pittsburgh and the Cowboys, I rooted for Pittsburgh. Mean Joe Green. Mean Joe Green wound up on the Great Space Coasters. That was the morning show for kids back then. And it was like, oh, look, Mean Joe Green. He had all the commercials and everything. The Steel Curtain. I was a Steelers fan. But, I got a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin and the job he did last year. Now they have Roethlisberger back and Minka Fitzpatrick and all these guys. I think Saquon Barkley is a different kind of talent. I think Jason Garrett's going to ride him the way he did Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know about Joe Judge. We'll find out. But if he's even solid, I think the Giants have a good chance for an upset. All right, look, the Monday Night Football Preview is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. And by the way, am I being a homer? Am I being biased? You're damn right. Hope springs eternal. It's the first game of the season, for crying out loud. Can I root for my Giants?
First take? At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's last take.
So on First Take today, we were discussing Baker Mayfield. And look, it's time to start panicking if you're a Baker Mayfield fan, and I am one. I thought Baker was going to be great out of college. I looked at Sam Darnold and thought he's going to be good for a long time. I looked at Baker Mayfield and I thought he's going to be great for a short time. You know, he may flame out eventually, but I think he was going to be fantastic for a while. I thought he was super accurate in college, and he had that kind of gamesmanship, that kind of moxie that I love to see. You know, he was like Johnny Manziel gone right. Hasn't worked out that way, and he was not in an enviable position going to a franchise with so much coaching turnover. They had the worst coach in the league in Hugh Jackson, and they followed it up with the worst coach in the league in Freddie Kitchens, and who knows what he has now, Stefanski, who knows? But to make it even worse, I don't care how good the players are. If you're surrounded with talent, but the coach is no good. The NFL is a coach's league. This is how it goes. Major League Baseball is a GM's league. You want to know what decides who's the best team? The GM in Major League Baseball. By far, the number one factor is the GM. In basketball, by far, the number one factor is the talent. It's the players. Do you have an MVP caliber player on your team, yes or no? If you don't, you can only go so far. If you do, you might win a championship. It's a players' league. The NFL is a coaches' league. That's it. You got a great coach, you're always going to be competitive. If you don't, you won't. Baker's not had a great coach in the NFL. In fact, he hasn't even had a decent one. He's had the bottom of the barrel so far. So I feel bad for him in that way, but I've always thought the danger for him is when guys like Odell look at him eventually and go, I thought he was a baller. He talks a game like he's a baller. He's not backing that up. Ooh, that's dangerous for him if those guys lose faith in him, and they might have. But Ryan Clark, I thought, had a really interesting take, and it was more brutal because it began by letting us know that he's not going to kill Baker today. He had no malice toward Baker Mayfield. He just thought we should think of him differently, and the honesty, I think, was a worse kind of takedown in the kind of avoiding trying to, pile on. It wound up being a more devastating kind of takedown of Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield isn't that talented. So, in turn, it is our fault, not his fault. It's my fault that I thought he should have went number one overall. It's my fault that I expected him to be a superstar, that I expected him to be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, because when you look at it, he's not that talented. See, what we were looking at him as was the Heisman Trophy winner and the first overall pick. Let's stop that. Let's look at him as the guy who had to walk on to two different teams in college. The guy who wasn't good enough to play at Texas Tech, so he went to Oklahoma as a walk-on and earned his way. Maybe if we start seeing him there, if we start seeing him from the bottom level of his talent, we can now appreciate the things that he did well. We can appreciate the times that he did excel, the times that he was successful, because we have to now realize that he's not that talented.
Oh, it's so brutal. As I said, he's not Russell Wilson. He's not Drew Brees. But you don't have to be, even to be his size and still have success. Baker Mayfield can be a good quarterback. I don't know that he'll ever be a great one. And that is something I was holding on to for until kind of recently, actually. All right, Raj, once again, you have failed me as a producer and failed to...
Guys like Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints at an advantage because they have that familiarity. Him and Sean Payton have been together for so long. And although Drew didn't play that great either, what you still saw, though, was in crucial situations, crucial situational football situations, they knew what they wanted to do. They knew who they wanted to go to. They knew they wanted to get the ball to Alvin Kamara as much as possible on some of the plays that he really likes. They even knew, like, down on the goal line on the touchdown pass to Emmanuel Sanders, they knew with that quick in-and-out motion, that's one of their go-to plays. If it's not Emmanuel Sanders, that has been Michael Thomas who's run that route. They've run that route for 10, 15 years. So, I mean, they know what they want to get to, so they can overcome sloppy execution. So it's interesting in those two situations with Drew, people would look at that game and go, oh, Drew looks like maybe, he doesn't have the same kind of horsepower in his arm. Maybe, this is the eventual downturn for him. They always have stuff that they know they can go to, and that's because of that familiarity with Tom. Whereas I'm not concerned, as Keyshawn has said, I'm a little concerned only because the greater importance that the early part of the season is going to have this year. And I know that because that's what people have been telling me. We want to come out of the gates fast. We don't want to get behind heading into October.
When you talk about concern, that performance yesterday by Lamar Jackson, there's no concern there for Baltimore. They took him to the woodshed. Cleveland looked like they basically look like the same ball club from a year ago. Lewis, What did you see in Lamar?
Keyshawn, I see a guy who, look, man, he knows what he needs to improve upon in order to take his game to an even higher level, which really at this point is ridiculous considering what he's already done. And what that was, as far as taking his game to the next level, was his ability to still throw the football, not just between the numbers, but outside the numbers, and throw it with great accuracy when people kind of keep him contained inside the pocket and don't allow him to get out on the edges.
Join us each morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker.